Hello and welcome to today's WorkSmart webinar, Improve Performance with Smartsheet Sites. My name is Erin Harlan. I'm part of the training team here at Smartsheet, and I'm joined today by my colleague Scott Fuller from our product management team. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. This is Scott from the product management team here at Smartsheet, and happy to be on today's webinar.
Thanks for joining, Scott. Today, we are going to talk about a brand new functionality in Smartsheet called Smartsheet Sites, which we're really excited to announce and introduce. Some of the objectives today, we're going to talk about what are Smartsheet Sites and how do I get them. We'll walk through some use cases and examples, and then we'll walk through how to create a site in Smartsheet. So for those of you who may be brand new to this, you're probably wondering, what is a Smartsheet site? Scott, do you want to kind of introduce us to it?
Yeah, we'll talk about this. So by the time they get to the end of the webinar here, you'll know all about them. But it's a brand new feature in the product. We actually released this a couple of months ago in the form of a beta and preview program. During that time, it was known as dashboards. It's now officially known as Smartsheet Sites and released to the general marketplace. It is a premium feature, which is something different than what a lot of you may have seen in the past. And what this means is there's a fee associated with it. So depending upon the plan you're on, the number of users and things like that, there is a fee associated with it. We're happy to give you that information by contacting your salesperson or customer support person. But anybody who's, when we get to the end of the webinar here, if this is something that you'd like to try, there's a URL there on the screen right now. If you go out to smartsheet.com/contact-us-sites, you can request more information, which will both sign you up for a trial, as well as have somebody reach out and give you more information on how to get access.
Great. So now that we've kind of introduced what sites are, do you want to sort of walk us through some of the valuable use cases or functionality?
Yeah. So let's start by giving you just a little bit of background into the sites. It's a feature we've been working on for a number of months now, and it actually started with just the journey of talking to customers who were using the Smartsheet. And one of the feedbacks we got was people loved the familiar spreadsheet type interface. It's great for entering data, being able to configure things, but when it comes to being able to summarize that information in a way that I can communicate to others, be it my boss, my customer, my teammates, sometimes digging through all the detail in the sheets is too much. So the response to that is Smartsheet Sites. It essentially, we use this widget-based approach that you can create widgets. There's different types of widgets, and you'll see those as we go through the webinar today. Each widget has its own purpose, but they're configurable. You define how it looks. Each widget has its own data source so that I can summarize information from different sheets and reports all into the same site. And then I can share all that information with other Smartsheet users. And the really cool thing here is I can share it without having to share all the underlying data. So if you're just trying to give your customer a status view of a project, summary of how a sales pipeline looks back to your boss, without sharing all the detail, you can do that using the sites.
Cool.
Great. The big objective here is trying to help teams just move faster. So by being able to surface summary data, you can get into the product, you can get the information you want, and get out. So hopefully your users will see the speed in which they can implement these, as well as getting access to the information. And then that's the right one. The other big design goal we had was making these sites self-service. And by that, I mean any user should be able to go out and create a site, be it for an individual view that you're trying to create into your work, be it an information hub where you're trying to create a site where everybody can get access to sheets and forms and reports and other web links, or what we call an at-a-glance summary, which is where I'm going to use big numbers and metrics and symbols and colors to make things real easy to find. So the best thing right now is, rather than showing you a bunch of screenshots here, is let's go into the live product We'll walk through 3 different dashboard examples, and then Erin's going to actually walk through creating one.
Perfect.
So our first example here is a project site. And by that I mean this is a site designed to give a summary of how a project is performing. So I've used the text widget to put the name of the project in big bold letters right up at the top. Off to the right, you can see I have kind of a notes area where the project manager can come along and input the latest status or announcements. There's some metrics where I can see how we're tracking on the completion date and the cost and the overall status of the project. And then the way I manage my projects is I like to have separate sheets for issues, deliverables, and budgets. And rather than having to open each one of those sheets to check the status, I've summarized each sheet into one of these sheet data widgets here. So I can quickly look at the deliverables and see that we're doing okay. Overall status is green. We've completed 21. We've got 7 more in progress that are on track, 2 that are late, but overall we're looking good. And then I get a lot of team members coming here. They're trying to find whether it's the latest form to submit an issue, whether it's linked to another project dashboard or the detailed plan. The team knows to land on this site, check the latest status, and get access to any one of these other documents or reports or sheets that they're trying to get information on. And then so that people can see what's happening, I've got a report down here at the bottom which is displaying the upcoming task on the project. Moving on from there, let's take a look at not a single project but a multi-project, and whether this is a program that you're managing that has several projects in it or a portfolio of projects. You can see here, I can see when this portfolio was last updated. I can check the health of it, how many of my projects are at risk, how we're trending, and you can see in the report there displaying the Gantt view, each project is summarized with its start and end dates as well as what the overall status is. If I actually want to dig into more detail on one of those projects, down below I've summarized each one into its own widget. So I can look at the pricing promotion for July. I can see that it's green. Just quickly check money, schedule, and I can even see a quick tweet from the project manager below in terms of his latest comments or status about that particular project. So again, trying to give my manager a view of all the projects I have in flight. You can come here and look at a site like this and quickly get answers to the questions they have. Something completely different here is an example of the HR Resource Center. This particular one, like here at Smartsheet, we obviously use Smartsheet for just about everything. Today, if I want to submit personal time off, I go find the workspace that has the employee resources in it. I go find the sheet, and I get the link to the form, and then I click on that. Now all I have to do is come to this site, and I've got links to everything I need about HR, whether it's what's the latest employee list, who are the department heads, where's a link to submitting PTO. We've even got a link to the internal fitness dashboard so I can see who's getting their exercise in. Or if I need to check on my dental benefits, I've got a link to that as well too. So there's actually no data on this site, but it is a single source of information to me about everything related to HR. So those are 3 completely different examples. Hopefully that gives everybody just some ideas of what you can see. If you actually go out to smartsheet.com, you'll find a link right there where it says sites are here, right beneath this person's picture, and you click on learn more. You'll find a whole bunch of information as well as a link to a whole other gallery. Okay, so this is some of the examples here, and this is a gallery of other sites that have been created and the kinds of things that people have built with them.
Great, this is wonderful. Let's jump in now and talk about how would I create a site and some of the pieces that are involved in that. So let's go back to the Home tab first and kind of talk about where sites reside. So when you have sites enabled on your account, you'll see this sites icon on your Home tab in Smartsheet. And this is simply a quick link to all of the sites you may have access to, whether or not you're the owner or they've been shared to you by someone else. Just like sheets and reports, a site can reside in a folder or in a workspace and can be shared from a folder or a workspace. But the site's link at the top just simply shows you all the ones you have access to, kind of similar to the reports icon that we have on the Home tab that shows you all the reports you have access to. Your sites is simply just kind of a quick view there. If I wanted to create a new site, I would simply select the Create New button on my Home tab, and I'll see that a site is an option in the drop-down menu, and I can simply create a new site. Let's go ahead and call this one Sales Pipeline. So for example, if I wanted to create this new sales pipeline site, when I first open it, it's going to open up as completely blank. It's just my blank interface where I can start creating work. Now I'm going to pull that work from existing sheets and reports. So say for example I have a really simple sales pipeline sheet that I want to pull data from, and maybe a simple report. I'm going to want to, of course, make sure that I have the information I want to surface into my site readily available in my sheet. So maybe I'm going to be using some hierarchical functions like a sum children, or creating some summary areas at the top of my sheet somewhere, where I show the specific values that I may want to surface into my site. The same is true of a report. So as we know in Smartsheet, a report is sort of like a high-level filter that will look across multiple sheets of data and pull information that meets a specific criteria. And I can actually surface an entire report into a site in Smartsheet. So I'll first want to, of course, make sure that my reports are also set up pulling the data that I might want to surface. So once I have both of those things set up, I can go into my site, and I'll notice that in edit mode there's this add widget button at the top. And if I click on that, it's going to show me the different widget types that are available in my site. We have currently, in this release, we have 6 different widget types. And let's just walk through those. Maybe the first thing I want to do when I create a new site is maybe I want to create a title for my site. So I would use what's called the rich text widget. A rich text widget is simply a text widget. I can use it for titles or instructions or other information. So maybe I'll want to call this one Sales Pipeline for Q1. And notice once I have my text in the widget itself, I have a lot of editing functionality within the widget. So I can make the text a larger size, I can adjust the layout. Maybe I want to make it bold or change the color of my text or realign the text. And once I have it set up the way that I want in the widget, I'll go ahead and click the Done button in the lower right-hand corner, and that will drop that widget onto my site. Now, I can click and drag my widget to move it around on my site. I can also right-click on the lower right-hand corner of my site, and I can change the size. So I can make it taller or shorter or narrower or wider to spread across the length of my site. So let's go ahead, maybe want to spread it across the top. The next thing I may want to add is what's called a metric widget. A metric widget allows me to surface specific cell data from an underlying sheet into my site. So I like to think of this kind of like cell linking, where I'm pulling the data that resides in a sheet to another area. So I can go ahead and click the Add Data button in a metric widget, and I will go ahead and select the sheet that I want to pull data from. So I'm going to scroll down here to my sites folder. Actually, I can go ahead and just search for it as well. And once I select my sheet, it's going to show it in the right-hand panel. And then I can select the specific cell or cells of data that I want to surface into my site. So maybe, for example, I want to surface my quoted price and my weighted value. I can select both of those cells, click OK, and it will pull that data into my widget. Notice it's going to pull not only the value from the cell, but it's also going to pull in the associated column name where that data is being pulled from. Now, once I have it in my widget, I can edit that label. So maybe I just want to call it price instead of quoted price. I can also, again, similar to a rich text widget, I can adjust the size of my text, the color of my text. I also have the ability to edit an interaction, and this is a really valuable functionality of sites, is this ability to make them interactive. Notice in the drop-down menu I have 4 things that I can do. I can either select no interaction at all with the widget. I can select open the source sheet, which means that when I click on the widget, I can open the underlying sheet that the data is being pulled from. I can select go to an outside URL, or I can also open another Smartsheet item. So if I wanted to open another sheet or another report, I have that ability as well. Notice as well that there is a display title box. If I check that box, it will default to the title of the sheet where the data is being pulled from. But again, this is a completely editable field. So maybe I want to call this opportunities. So once I have my widget set up, again, the way that I like, I have all my data in place, I have it formatted, I've got my title, I've got my interaction. I can go ahead and click Done. And again, it's going to drop my widget onto my site. I can move it around. I can right-click on the corner to adjust the size. Also, if I need to go back and edit my widget at any time, in the lower left-hand corner, I can hover over the gear icon and click that to go back into my Configure widget box. Now let's go ahead and take a look at a sheet data widget. This is similar to a metric widget, but unlike a metric widget, a sheet data widget allows us to select multiple consecutive cells of data and pull them into the widget. So say, for example, I want to look at the totals by rep for John, Sarah, Carol, and Sam. Now, what's important is when I'm pulling this data in, it's going to pull in the data as well as the column name associated. So if I'm using this type of widget, I'll probably just want to select the data itself, and then I can go ahead and customize the labeling directly within the widget. So I'll go ahead and select these values and click OK. And then, of course, notice it's going to pull that in, and then I can go ahead and I can customize the labels to look however I want within the widget. So I can put in the names if I want to show names. If I wanted to show something else, I could do that. Again, I can also change the title. Maybe I want to call this Sales by Rep. I also can format the text, the interaction, and again, click Done when I'm completed and drop my widget onto my site. And again, all of my widgets I can simply drop in, and then I can move them around and resize them to fit the way that's going to best suit my needs. Another type of widget is what's called the shortcut. We've got a shortcut and a shortcut list. Both do the same thing. One just kind of allows for individual links, and the shortcut list is for multiple. But essentially, a shortcut widget allows you to add a shortcut to another opportunity or another type of piece of data. So you notice I have the opportunity to connect to an outside URL. So maybe, for example, I want to connect to smartsheet.com. I can simply do that, and I can label it. I also can connect to another file that maybe exists in another cloud source, say Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, Dropbox, or I can also connect to another Smartsheet item. I can connect to another sheet, another report, or even to another site. Just to mention also, I know Scott brought this up before, the URL is a really great use case if I have, say, a web form on one of my sheets that I want to surface into my site. Again, because a web form creates a URL. Great use case here. And we'll click OK. Notice that, again, I can customize the text within my widget, and I'll have a little link icon showing me that this is a hyperlink out to an outside URL. And again, I can drop it onto my site and adjust the size accordingly. The last widget type is what's called a report widget type, and this widget type allows us to actually surface an entire report directly into our site. So I can go ahead and select a report from my Smartsheet account. Maybe I want to go ahead and select my pipeline report, and it will display my report directly in the widget. Similar to the other widgets, I can display a title if I'd like. I also have the ability to keep or remove any kind of color formatting that may exist in my report. And I also have the ability, again, to edit an interaction. Once I drop my report into my site, notice similar to the other widgets, I can click and drag the corner to adjust the size and the display. Oftentimes a report, depending on what information you surface, may be a little larger, but you have the flexibility to adjust the size to look the way and feel the way that's going to work best for you. So once you have your site set up, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to open a completed one here to see what our sales pipeline might look like. Notice that you'll have all of your widgets in place. So you'll have text widgets, you'll have metric widgets, you'll have sheet data, you'll have hyperlink widgets, maybe out to other links, other shortcuts to sheets or workspaces or even other sites, and then reports. And again, what's nice and what's really valuable about this is that it is live updated. So as your data updates in your sheets or your reports, it will update directly to the site. Now, once you have the site completed, you have the ability to share your site with other people. And what's nice about when you share your site is you can share just the site and you don't have to share the underlying data. So if I click the Share tab here at the bottom, notice I have two different permission levels that I can grant. I can share someone as an admin, which means that they will have editing access to my site where they can edit my widgets, or I can share it simply to someone as a viewer, which means that they can only view my site, but they don't have the ability to edit my widgets. So it's just a consume-only format. So sites are really a valuable tool to utilize, not only to show that real-time data, but to share that real-time information without sharing full access to the underlying data. So let's try to jump back again and remind everybody, if you are interested in sites, they are a premium feature available for purchase, which is subject to the type of plan you have and how many users you want to enable with sites. So definitely reach out to your account manager if you're interested, or if you're not sure who that person is, you can simply email sales@smartsheet.com and they'll connect you to someone associated to your account. Additionally, if you're interested in a trial, there is this free 10-day trial. So we encourage you to try out sites, see if it's something that might work for you, play around with it, and definitely share your feedback. And you can do that at www.smartsheet.com/contact-us-sites.
And the product manager and me can't help but explain here, obviously this is our first release. We're very proud of what's here, but we have lots more planned for the rest of the year. So as you look at this, start thinking about additional capabilities you'd like it to have. There will be updates to the feature every single month. So next month, the metric widget and the sheet data widget will support displaying images from the images that are in grids. We will soon have the ability to publish sheets, or the sites as well too. Same way you can publish a sheet, you'll be able to publish one of these sites. We have it on our radar to, as soon as possible, get charts and graphs in here. So lots of exciting things coming that we think that will only make them better and better as the year goes on.
Great. So it looks like we have time for just a few questions. So I'm just looking through some of the questions here. And again, there's a question about there's a couple questions about does the data update when your data updates in your sheets? And yes, the answer is yes. So when, again, your site is a live real-time view of the data that's being surfaced. So the data actually still resides in your sheets and your reports. And as that data is updated in your sheets and your reports, it will live update directly to your site as well.
A similar question to that we get quite often is, are the widgets themselves performing any calculations or summary? And the answer there is, at the moment, no. We actually let the sheet do all the work, and we're just surfacing the data from the sheet. We have gotten a lot of feedback in that area, so something that, stay tuned for developments. But for now, if you want to show total number of days or total cost or total budget, anything that you're totaling up, you'll do that work in the sheet, and then we'll display it for you.
Perfect. Yep, okay, there's a great question about graphics and visuals, and as Scott mentioned, we're going to have continual updates to the product, so stay tuned. This is, again, the first version, but we hope to continue to develop and evolve sites within Smartsheet with enhanced performance and enhanced functionality throughout the year.
Yeah, we know that the sites need charts and graphs and things like that. We'll probably start with some simple ones like gauges and thermometers and milestone tracking, because those can all be done relatively simple. To do some of the more advanced charting, we need to add the ability to pivot the data within the tool, so those things are being done within reports and then will be surfaced within the sites. So definitely we understand how important it is, and it is all in motion.
Great. And it looks like we have some additional questions about how do I access sites or pricing for sites. And again, it does depend upon the account type that you have and how many users you want to enable. So again, contact your account manager, and they can look at your account and kind of help you decide the best option for your team. If you're not sure who that person is, again, sales@smartsheet.com. If you simply email them, they'll connect you to a representative for your account. And then also try out the trial. It's a great way to kind of give it a go, test drive it with your data, see how it feels, and see if it's something that will work for you. Again, we're really excited about it, and we want to give you the opportunity to try it out and utilize it as well.
And I will say, when you go to the form is all about requesting somebody to contact you, but it is also signing you up for a trial. It just doesn't say that anywhere.
Right. Perfect. Yeah. So again, it's smartsheet.com/contact-us-sites. All right. So it looks like we are at time. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We really appreciate your time. Hope you're as excited as we are about some of the new features coming out, and we look forward to seeing you on our next WorkSmart webinar.